Welcome back to the Naked Expat channel. Where I live here in Angeles City, just behind me there, you'll see in the corner, right there, is a 5G tower. Used to be 4G, it's a 5G tower, so therefore, if you've got a phone which is 5G capable, then you can use 5G, and I'm going to show you a tip to get super fast Wi-Fi in your house without having to subscribe to Converge Fiber. All you need to basically have is another phone. This Galaxy A10 cost me 9,000 peso directly from Samsung, and it's a 5G phone with SIM card. Now I'm going to tell you what the idea is all about. Now, if you have Converge Fiber like I used to have in this house, I was subscribing to a package that was about 2,500 pesos per month, and I got sporadic speeds. The speeds that Converge advertise are only peak speeds that you may well get outside of the rush hour popular times, and a burst of speed. Otherwise, I believe in the small print, they only ever guarantee that you're going to get approximately 30% of that speed at any time, and certainly not in peak time like on a Sunday or after school when everybody's streaming. You're not going to get the speeds advertised. However, Converge Fiber Internet, where it's available, is the best option in the Philippines by far. However, 5G is catching up, and catching up fast. In order to save money and come away from Converge in favor of a 5G option rather than fiber internet option, the best that I found is by having a smart 5G SIM card in a 5G phone, and then you use this phone as a 5G hotspot, and you make it a Wi-Fi hotspot, so that all of your devices in your TV, your laptops, your iPads, tablets can all connect to that Wi-Fi hotspot that this phone with a smart SIM is producing. Now, that's no different to going online or going into a smart shop and buying a 5G Smart Bro HomeFi pocket Wi-Fi or smart Wi-Fi router that they put a SIM card into that does a similar job. It takes the 5G signal from the tower near your home where you can pick it up. This is only applicable for people that have got a 5G signal in their area. And those Smart Bro home devices, be them pocket Wi-Fis or a more permanent wired connection, take the 5G signal with a 5G SIM and broadcasts it as a Wi-Fi signal throughout your home for you to pick up. However, Smart often do throttle their 5G connections during peak times, or certainly nearer the end of the month, just like I think Converge do. I'm not saying that for definite, but I have the sneaky suspicion that these companies buy international bandwidth in blocks, and nearer the end of the month, when the usage is perhaps nearly peaked out, they throttle people's connections. In other words, they slow down your connections because everybody's using them, and they've only got a certain amount of international bandwidth left as an allocation for that month, for everybody, for all of the people that subscribe, be them Converge subscribers with Converge, Smart with Smart, PLDT with PLDT, Globe with Globe. You get the idea. Now, unlike Smart Bro and Pocket Wi-Fi home solutions, Smart and other 5G network providers cannot throttle a phone 5G because it's not their equipment. So by using in my case, a smart 5G SIM card in a smart 5G phone, picking up a 5G signal from a tower and using this phone as a 5G hotspot, I can get unthrottled, unlimited, fast 5G internet connection. Now, I have previously also experimented with Starlink, and Starlink was fantastic, and I was getting about 200 Mbps download speed, but I was only getting about 60 Mbps upload speed. Now, download speed is most important for most people because of streaming, watching YouTube, Netflix, etc., and generally surfing the internet and using social media. However, if you are using voice over internet protocols, in other words, talking on Skype, or you're working from home for businesses with conference calls, with Zoom, etc., or in my instance, doing some work on one of my blogs or my websites, or uploading videos to YouTube, you're not streaming and taking the information down, you're putting it up, and therefore your upload speed is important. I found with Starlink the download speed was fantastic, 200 Mbps. With Converge I was getting sometimes 300 Mbps, but not always. The download speed of around about 200 Mbps with Starlink was very good and relatively consistent, as was the upload speed, but it was only about 60 Mbps, not quite so good. Now I tested the 5G and I'm getting 350 to 400 Mbps download speed, and surprise surprise, I'm getting 150 to 250 Mbps upload speed, which is far superior to anything apart from maybe a business plan fiber optic connection with Converge, which is going to cost you north of 3,500 pesos a month. In a nutshell, why do it? Well, my 5G unlimited smart connection cost me 759 pesos a month, unlimited. I was previously, I'll say that again, 759 pesos a month. The maximum without a special offer that I've renewed the data plan for at the end of the month has been 990 pesos a month with Smart. The cheapest I've ever paid with Converge on my plan was 2,500 pesos. You can get a plan for 1,500 pesos, but it's the most basic and the slowest, and is never going to compete with a 5G connection. As I said, one of the most important things to consider if you are using 5G is do not use a Smart Bro, Home Bro, Pocket Wi-Fi, Smart or Globe widget that they sell you that you can put your SIM card into, because they can throttle it, and they do throttle it at any time, just like Converge, and you end up getting speeds nearer the end of the month of around about 30 or 40% of maximum. With this, I do not get any throttling whatsoever. So, in a nutshell, buy a cheap 5G Wi-Fi phone which is capable of making a hotspot. This is a Samsung A10 and it cost me 9,000 pesos in the Philippines. I then bought direct from Smart a 5G SIM card, data SIM card, which cost me 300 pesos and arrived directly from Smart to my home address in about 4 days. Now you can put the SIM card into the phone, you can register it, and then you can just top it up every month as per your requirements. Surprise, surprise. One of the wonderful things that I have now, there are occasionally brownouts. When I lived in Negros, I used to have brownouts once every 3 or 4 weeks, and they would last 3 or 4 days. In Angela's, thankfully, brownouts aren't quite so frequent. However, they do happen. With my previous internet solutions, both with Converge, which is a fiber optic connection, and with Starlink, these are both dependent on the mains power. So when you get a brownout, your internet goes down. It's okay if you've got a 5G phone, you can carry on with social media. I'm a solo parent, I can keep my son happy with a phone, of course, if they've got a connection. But to save money, the only internet connection I have in my home is my Wi-Fi hotspot. But surprise, surprise, it's being provided by a phone. Now this phone is constantly plugged in, which means the battery's on 100% charge all the time, which means if there's a brownout, okay, the TV goes off and we can't use the TV. However, we've still got Wi-Fi connection because of the battery backup on the phone. So it's producing a 5G Wi-Fi connection. And I've got my laptop and my iPads, and my son has his tablet. Surprise, surprise, we can still watch Netflix and watch TV on the iPads and on the laptops. So we have everything we need to enjoy social media, to enjoy Netflix and YouTube, anything, movies that you might be watching via anything that's got a battery, laptops, iPads, phones, etc. Whilst there's a brownout, everybody else is just twiddling their thumbs and waiting for the power to come on. This has been an absolute godsend for me, and after 10 months this has paid for itself, because I've not only saved 1,500 pesos a month on my internet, but the phone was obviously 9,000 pesos. The SIM card and setting it up was probably another 1,000 pesos. So it owes me 10,500 pesos. And I've saved that, as I said, within the first year in profit, because I'm not having to use a wired connection anymore. This is only applicable if you have a 5G connection, a 5G tower near you. It's quite easy. If you've got a modern phone, check to see if you've got a 5G connection. If you've got a 5G connection, go and buy a Samsung A10 or something similar for about 9,000 pesos and set yourself up with cheap, fast internet. So, in summing up, buy something like a Samsung Galaxy A10, which is 5G, a 5G SIM card from Smart, and set it up as a Wi-Fi hotspot. You will save yourself a lot of money, and it's mobile, and you're also not tied in to any 12 or 24 month contract. Especially important if you're more transient, you don't own your own property, and maybe you don't want to sign up and commit yourself to 2 years because you might get booted out by the landlord, or you might want to move somewhere else. So it's really important to have that 5G Wi-Fi hotspot via a SIM. You're mobile, it's mobile, and you're not tied into any contract. Enjoy.